All right, guys, welcome back to Revive School. Congratulations, you've made it through an entire week of the book of Psalms. Here we are in lesson 49, Psalms 46 through 48. And you know, for me, when I go through the study and I start, and when I get to the last Psalm, and I start seeing that it's all about Jerusalem. I gotta be honest, it's kind of one of those like, this is really exciting to me. This is really like, man, God, you are moving in an incredible way. And partly because the reality is our team, we get an opportunity to go and pray for Jerusalem. Like, this is what we do. In Psalm 122, it says, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And so we get to invest into Jerusalem, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. So whenever you get to see a psalm that just focuses on the city, based on how God is moving in the city, I have to admit, I get super excited, which is why there's an emphasis. When you have an emphasis on Jerusalem in this psalm, Psalm 48, many scholars will actually call this psalm and a couple others the songs of Zion. And so Jerusalem is kind of a fun picture. It's secure, as one commentator wrote. The Lord secures and brings about a blessing with his favor on this city. I can't think of another city in the world that you hear all the time about what's happening in Jerusalem, what's going on in Jerusalem. And just so you know, Israel, like the size of Israel is the size of New Jersey. So why on earth does all of these countries, I don't know how many countries there are in the world, but why does are they so concerned with Israel and Jerusalem? Because I believe that there's an ultimate battle for this city. Not only is it Psalm 48 that talks about Jerusalem, but then it goes into the songs of Zion. So when we talk about the songs of Zion, you have a couple different ones that you have on here. You have obviously the one we're talking about today, Psalm 48, and then you also have Psalm 76, Psalm 84, Psalm 87, and we reference this one a little bit, Psalm 122, and then Psalm 132. These are songs that are emphasizing Jerusalem. I think this is just a cool little backdrop. You know how you have the songs of ascent from 122 and on, and you know you have different things, different styles. Obviously in Psalm 48, this is the sons of Korah. We just talked about the sons of Korah writing a love song in Psalm 45, but another song that the sons of Korah are writing is Psalm 48. And so what we're going to do is Wiersbe breaks it up, and I think it's a pretty cool, simple version of how he does it. But in verses 1 through 3, he says, it's God and their city. Now it says in verse 1, the Lord is great and highly praised in the city of our God. His holy mountain, rising splendidly, is the joy of the whole earth. Mount Zion on the slopes of the north is the city of the great King. And in verse 1, it says, the Lord is great and highly praised in this city, the city of our God, which is Jerusalem, also known as his holy mountain. So Kevin, if you would you go to 1 Kings 14:21? I had a gentleman actually ask me this at a lunch. He said, why do you care so much about Jerusalem? Like, what's the big deal? He wasn't trying to be negative. He wasn't trying to be sarcastic. Just tell me. This would be one of the instances. In 1 Kings 14:21, Rehoboam, Solomon's son, he reigned in Judah. Rehoboam was 41 years old when he became king. And he reigned specifically for 17 years in the city of Zion, in Jerusalem. The city, now look how Jerusalem is described, you guys, where Yahweh had chosen from all the tribes of Israel to put his name. Rehoboam's mother's name was Naamah the Ammonite. So think about it this way, okay? In this time frame, Solomon's son Rehoboam, God clearly says, I'm going to put my name where, Kevin?
On this city.
On the city. It's important about the name of Yahweh. And Jerusalem is God's, this is going to sound funny, his headquarters. Jerusalem is his home base. Now, this is the beginning. Now watch this. If you go to Jeremiah 3:17, that same mentality of the name of Yahweh, it says in Jeremiah 3:17, now this is a prophetic time, before the Messiah, before the King of Glory comes back, it says, at that time, Jerusalem will be called Yahweh's throne, and all the nations will be gathered to it, to the name of Yahweh in Jerusalem. Why this is important is think about this, you guys. They're not gathering because the King of the Glory is there. They're not gathering because the Messiah has come back yet. What you're going to see is all the nations are going to gather because of the name of Yahweh. Does that make sense? It's a precursor before the King of Glory comes back. And here in 1 Kings 14, what you see is God is clearly saying, I am putting my name on this city. And eventually the prophet Jeremiah says, oh, by the way, the nations are going to come because of his name. Where? In Jerusalem. It's a really, really cool bookend about what you see. Once Rehoboam's grandfather, David, overtook our famous city that we always talked about, Kevin. Remember when we went through the books of Jebus, right? You know? Once David overtook this, eventually it was going to be the place where all these nations are going to be gathered. Jerusalem is God's eternal city. It's the highly praised. The Lord is great and highly praised in the city of our God, his holy mountain, rising splendidly. And so here you have Jerusalem serving as the joy of the whole earth. What an awesome way to describe Jerusalem. Mount Zion on the slopes of the north is the city of the great king. So Kevin, where is the great king going to reside?
Jerusalem.
In Jerusalem. The great king, the king that we've been talking about, the King of Glory. Here you have the sons of Korah prophesying, oh, by the way, he's going to make his home here. Now, when it talks about Mount Zion on the slopes of the north, like what are we talking about here? In the Canaanite poetry, according to Nelson's commentary, the great gods would reside in the northern locations. And so for them to say, for the sons of Korah to say God's dwelling place was physical, and oh, by the way, it's in the city of Jerusalem, you're basically saying it's not where you think it is, it's right here. Just a cool picture again of who God is and how God is moving clearly in the city of Jerusalem. So it's God and their city. We should probably just write.
Which would have made sense for them to sing about with the temple there and moving the Ark of the Covenant into the temple and God's presence as much as present time as forward time.
Yeah, so let's go back to that just for a little bit, Kevin. It's a great point. So think about this. David took Mount Zion from the Jebusites, okay? And that's where Jerusalem became capital. You find that in 2 Samuel 5, 6 through 9. I think this is an important point. 2 Samuel 5, 6 through 9. It says, the king and his men, they marched to Jerusalem against the Jebusites, who inhabited the land. The Jebusites had said to David, you'll never get in here. Even the blind and the lame can repel you. Thinking David can't get in here. Yet David did capture the stronghold of Zion, the city of David. Verse 8. He said that day, whoever attacks the Jebusites must go through the water shaft to reach the lame and the blind who are despised by David. For this reason it is said, the blind and the lame will never enter the house. Verse 9. David took up residence in the stronghold, which he named the city of David. Hey, let's name it after myself. He built it up all the way around from the supporting terraces inward. So here you have the city of David. Here you have Zion. David took them all. It's the same place. It's the same thing. And this is the beginning of 2 Samuel. So Kevin, to your point, like back then, this is a big deal. It's 2,500 feet above sea level. It's not far from the, as Wiersbe says, the northern and southern junctures between the northern, southern, and eastern, western trade routes. Like this is a main thoroughfare. This is where people were coming and going. And to your point, Kevin, this is where the Ark of the Covenant was brought. This is what made Zion holy. The holy mountain was because the Ark of the Covenant dwelled there. Important aspect. And so in Jerusalem back then, you would have had, just so you have a reference, an Ark of the Covenant, hence the holy mountain. Like it's a city of the past, but you guys, it's a city of the future. In Isaiah 2:2, it says, in the last days, the mountain of the Lord's house will be established at the top of the mountains and will be raised above the hills. All nations will stream to it. You know what that means, right? The King of Glory is actually going to reside here. Like this is in the last days. This is where he's going to hang out. And then just to go one more, Isaiah 60 verse 1. Here you have again, it was established, but the prophets say, oh, by the way, And I love this image. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord shined over you. The glory of the Lord. Here you have the King of the glory. He's going to be coming back in reference to Jerusalem. It's a fun picture. Hopefully this establishes, Kevin, the roots that you're referencing of why this is so important. Aside from God and their city, Wiersbe clearly identifies some other roles. He says God and their enemies. Verses 4 through 7. God is known as a stronghold in its citadels. Look, the kings assembled, they advanced together. They looked and they froze with fear. They fled in terror. Trembling seized them there, agony like that of a woman in labor. And then as you wrecked the ships of Tarshish with the east wind. In other words, here's kind of some fun pictures. All of these quote-unquote besieging armies, okay, they couldn't prevail against God's stronghold. That's why in verse 3, God is known as a stronghold in its citadels. These armies, the Sennacherib's armies, okay, the Assyrians, could not overcome Jerusalem. They couldn't overcome David and his army. In fact, God's presence terrified them. Maybe even to the point where it was interesting, the armies just couldn't break through. So we have God in their city, Jerusalem, God and their enemies in all the directions that they're going to come from, and then God and their worship. Just as we have heard, so we have seen in the city of Yahweh. So in other words, we've witnessed, we've testified. Here we see this experience. We've seen in the city of Yahweh of hosts, in the city of our God, God will establish it forever. Selah. I'm sorry, God is going to establish what forever? What would you say, Kevin?
The city.
Jerusalem. And whose city will it be?
Be the city of God.
Yeah, God's going to establish it forever. And you're going to see the presence of God in temple worship. You're going to see in a city where God is going to establish His true blessing. How He establishes it, what I like about this is, honestly, it can come through the natural and it can come through the supernatural. God can do it through, and I think, Rich, we've seen this many times, God can do it through the fighting of the IDF. He can do that through the fighting through the soldiers in the Old Testament, or He could just totally intervene with His own angels and just show up, and then here we go again. I mean, a simple example would be, you remember this? God sent His angel to the Assyrian camp and He killed 185,000 men. Like, God can do this any way He wants to establish Jerusalem as His city. So I'm actually not the least concerned about how it happens, but I'm just praying, Lord, bring about the peace that we're longing for in Jerusalem. In verse 9, it says, God, within your temple, we contemplate your faithful love. This word contemplate in the Hebrew, extremely, as most commentaries would say, an unusual word in the Hebrew. It refers to actually making comparisons. Listen to what Nelson's commentary says. It refers to making comparisons and looking for similarities, thinking and considering with discrimination. There's nothing that can be compared to the loyal love of God. Nothing even comes close to God's love in our lives. Nothing. But I've been trying to think about it, but nothing. And in verse 10, it says, your name, God, like your praise, reaches to the ends of the earth. Your right hand is filled with justice. And then in verse 11, it says, Mount Zion is glad. Jerusalem is glad. City of David is glad. Zion is glad. The towns of Judah, these towns that all of these enemies attempted to take over, they're now rejoicing because of your judgment. So you go from God and their city to God and their enemies to God and their worship to finally, and then we're going to break it up with all the events, God and their future. One commentator said, in verse 12, it says, go around Zion, encircle it, count its towers. One commentator said, maybe it's the sons of Korah serving as a tour guide for other people. Just a kind of a fun picture. So let's go around Zion, encircle it, count its towers, note its ramparts, tour its citadels, so that you can tell a future generation, this God, our God forever and ever, He will always lead us. He will always shepherd us. He will always guide us in and through this city. All right. That's a big picture of Jerusalem. And to me, Psalm 48 is a song of Zion. It's saying God is present and alive and well in this city. And oh, by the way, it'll be forever and ever. So let's just kind of walk through practically, like, how did we get here today? I want to show you some pictures, and then I'm actually going to come back to this, okay? So I want to give you an image, if you would, Kevin. Let's just go to the very first one. Here's Jerusalem, okay? Here is the Mount Zion. Here's the city of David. And so now the city of David is a little bit separate because Jerusalem has grown. So you have the city of David and Jerusalem. And so, Rich, this is correct, right? This is the Mount of Olives over here.
Correct.
And then here you have Jerusalem. Really what you have here with the Temple Rock, the Dome of the Rock and the Temple Mount, which saying that phrase bothers people, just putting it together, right? The Temple Mount and the Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa Mosque. But really what you have here is this is, what would we consider this, Rich? All this wall right here?
That would be the Old City.
The Old City. So anything outside of Old City is modern Jerusalem, with the exception of obviously the city of David. Why are we saying these things? In fact, the city of David would be over here, though, right, Rich? I think that's correct. City of David would be over here. So how did we get here? So how do you go from Psalm 48 to today, and what does it even matter anymore? Like, what do, as that one guy said, why do you even care about Jerusalem? Let me give you a historical backdrop. I'm going to just kind of walk through this, not because I'm any scholar. In fact, I had to really study this up, took a bunch of notes, and hopefully you'll find this encouraging. So we already went to, Kevin, correct? We went to 2 Samuel. Is that where we said it was? When David clearly overtook the Jebusites, right? So think about this. In 1000 BC-ish, King David conquered Jerusalem. Okay? He conquered Jerusalem. He made it the capital of the Jewish kingdom. And then eventually his son came in 40 plus years later, right? And he built the first temple. That first temple would be technically right here. Some would even say right where the Dome of the Rock is. Some say it's here, some say it's here, some say it's here. Yes, here. Okay, for our conversation. So that's what started to take place. Now in 586, the Babylonians, they came in and they occupied Jerusalem in 586. What did they do to the temple, Kevin?
Destroyed it.
They destroyed the temple. And where did they send the Jews?
To Babylon.
Yeah, to exile. They kicked them out. So the Jews got kicked out. They destroyed the temple. This is the process. 50 years later, roughly, the Persian king comes in, King Cyrus. And what does he do? He says, you guys are allowed to go back and build the temple. Make sense? So yeah, Zerubbabel comes into play and helps rebuild the temple that Solomon originally built. Now, Alexander the Great, he came in. He took control in 332 BC. Over the course of those hundreds of years, the city was constantly being conquered and ruled by different groups. You've got Romans and Persians and Arabs and other groups, Turks, Crusaders, Egyptians, Mamelukes, and people from Islam. And so here you have multiple groups that are starting to, it's constantly a revolving door. But if you go back to Psalm 48, you guys, God says that's my city. So eventually, his people are going to actually have the run of this city because God says, oh, by the way, that's mine. So you either believe that the Old Testament is done and God's promises have stopped, or you actually believe he says that that's going to be forever, 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 that's going to be mine. So what do people do with this, Kevin?
They mess it up sometimes. Say that it's stopped, and there's ideas that the church has replaced this in Jerusalem, and I don't know. I don't see I don't read that.
You can't kick them out. Like, God still has a plan here, right?
You even saw it. When they were taken away for captivity, they went back. There was a remnant that stayed, but then more came back, and they rebuilt the temple.
Okay, so the temple that had been, all these cities, all these people groups that are coming in trying to take over Jerusalem, right? All these people are coming in. The History Channel is where we get all this information, just FYI, a lot of this. This is really helpful. Praise God for the History Channel. In 37 BC, King Herod restructured the second temple, right? That would be Zerubbabel's temple. So King Herod comes in and restructures it, and he added some retaining walls to it. Okay, he had some retaining walls to it. Now, Jesus was crucified in the city of Jerusalem roughly around 30 AD. Okay, you could go anywhere from that, 30 to 32 AD. You get the point. That's the time frame. But when you come into this, though, what happened, Rich, in 70 AD? Do you remember?
Yeah, that would be Nero came in and destroyed it.
The Romans came in and wiped out the temple. The second temple is officially gone. So 70 AD after his death, right? After Christ's death, this is the time frame. So there's nothing here. There's no temple here, okay? The structure of the Temple Mount, still there. But what you have is that the temple is gone. Now, here's where we're going to start getting into some current events, I think, just to kind of give you an idea of Jerusalem. Now, remember, Psalm 48, God says, oh, by the way, that's my city. So anytime other people groups are coming in, you eventually know, it's a fair statement, they're not going to be there at some point. And so you have to trust in the promises of God. In 632 AD, okay, so almost 600 years later, after the temple was destroyed, Muhammad, an Islamic prophet, he died. And he was said to have ascended to heaven from Jerusalem. Okay, so the prophet Muhammad that most, that he is their most revered prophet, he is said to have ascended into heaven. Well, we say the same thing about Jesus, do we not? Jesus ascended into heaven. Now, in this process, okay, what started happening is that many people started to, quote unquote, pilgrimage back to Jerusalem to check everything out. It was kind of like word began to spread. People are coming to check out the, quote unquote, religious sites. So one of the things that the History Channel says is that European Christians started pilgrimages to Jerusalem in the first century. From about 1099 to 1187, Christian crusaders occupied Jerusalem and deemed the city a major religious site. How'd that go over, you guys?
Not so well.
Not so well. If you say anything about Christian crusaders, everybody usually has a bad tone, because what did crusaders do?
They killed people.
The theory is, and it's proven, they killed people. Well, at the same time, to give you a bigger picture, the Ottoman Empire ruled Jerusalem, okay, and really much of the Middle East from 1516 all the way up to 1917. Okay, so all of a sudden you went from Crusaders to the Ottoman Empire. Now here's where it gets interesting. After World War I, Great Britain came in and actually took over Jerusalem. Great Britain comes in, takes control after World War I. That includes Palestine. The British controlled Jerusalem, the city, and the surrounding region until Israel became an independent state in 1948. Make sense? So, if Great Britain takes over everything, and the next thing you know, Israel becomes an independent state in 1948, all of that area that the Palestinians had with the Great Britons, guess what? It's not there anymore. Israel now has it. Hence, the ongoing tension that you see in the Middle East today. Jerusalem was divided during the first 20 years of Israel's existence. Israel controlled, when I say Israel's existence, I mean 1948. Okay? Israel controlled the western portions of it, while Jordan controlled East Jerusalem. All right? So you have Israel controlling part of it, and then you have, did you catch this? They controlled the western portions of it, and then Jordan controlled the eastern part of it. Do you remember we were talking about this, even the winds? After the 1967-day war, Rich, who took over Jerusalem?
The Jewish people did.
That would be Israel, the Jewish people. So after 1967, a very important war in Israel's history, they now run the city. Kind of like when David did in 2 Samuel, when he overtook the city. But now here's where it gets complicated. And it gets super complicated. The Temple Mount, which is literally a compound, according to the History Channel, which we've been there, is a compound located on a hill in Jerusalem that's comprised of about 35 acres of land. Okay? It contains religious structures such as what we would consider the Western Wall. Let's go to a couple other pictures, actually, if you don't mind, Kevin. Yeah, so here you have the Western Wall, okay, where these guys are coming to pray right here. Here you have the Dome of the Rock. I think let's go to another picture maybe. If not, we might come back. Keep going if you don't mind. Okay, yeah, here we go. Great. Western Wall is going to be here. Dome of the Rock's here. Al-Aqsa Mosque. So you have roughly 35 acres of land, okay, that is comprised of this area. Now, this ancient landmark, obviously the holiest place in Judaism, Interesting enough, it references to the area back to Abraham's near sacrifice, right? We've talked about this. David buys this, where Abraham was going to sacrifice his son, the location of the first and the second temples, the spot where many of the Jewish prophets would have taught. At the same time, this is also considered the third most holiest site in Islam, after Mecca and Medina. And this is where the Muslims believe that the Prophet Muhammad ascended into heaven. So here you have the holiest of the holy sites of the Jewish people. Here you have the third most holy site of the Muslims. And at the same time, the Christians believe this is where the Messiah is going to come back. Oh yeah, he's coming back here through this gate, and oh yeah, he's going to settle up and make a home in the third temple. It just gets more and more interesting. And because of this whole religious and historical implications, the occupation of the Temple Mount, major conflict. Rich, you and I have gone there. It's pretty tense up there, isn't it?
It's very intense.
But during the 6-day war, even though, as weird as this sounds, Israel gained all of Jerusalem, what did they lose, Rich? They lost control.
They lost control of the Temple
Of the Temple Mount. The Islamic, I'm going to say this wrong, WAQF, Waqf. Did I say that right, Rich? They govern what happens inside the compound, but Israel forces control the external security. In 691 AD, the Dome of the Rock was built on the site of the destroyed Jewish temples in Jerusalem. The dome, located on the Temple Mount, is the oldest surviving Islamic building. It was constructed, yes, what we know, where probably Muhammad ascended to heaven, in their words. And so I think you can just see all of the conflict. Let me just say this because of time. I want to just jump to the very end here. Ariel Sharon, one of the former Jewish leader, right? He actually stirred the pot when he visited the Temple Mount in 2000. In some recent years, people are constantly fighting over who gets Jerusalem as their capital. Well, Kevin, according to Psalm 48, whose capital is it?
The Jews.
It's the Jews. It's going to be God. It is God's. And so in 1980, I was 1 year old. In 1980, Israel actually declared Jerusalem is our capital. Okay, great. The problem is that the Palestinian groups in 2017, not long ago, the Palestinian group Hamas, they actually presented a document that proposed the formation of a Palestinian state with Jerusalem as their capital. So the Palestinians, who feel like they have no home, the Israelis feel like that is their home, and there's this constant tension and battle. Whose city is this? And all I want to just say and propose, even based on Psalm 48, it's God's. And if your faith does not align with Psalm 48, it's not your city. Sounds crazy, but our job is, as we talked about this yesterday, we got to get the people ready for him to come. And he's coming back to Jerusalem. All right, guys, there's a lot there. Hopefully it encourages you. Hopefully it causes you to study more, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks.